Hey everyone, welcome back to Sarah J. Awesome. So first, a little backstory on this video. I actually ended up having to break this video down into two separate videos. Basically, part of it was a road trip, which I recently went on with my family, and I almost did not make it to the supercharger. Normally on that drive, I make it back with about 9% battery, but I couldn't even make it back that time. So we're going to talk about all the factors and everything in a separate video. In this video, I am going to go ahead and tell you all of the things that I have found that make your car more energy efficient. And the first few things that I'm going to talk about are things that I actually did while I was on my road trip to immediately conserve battery when I realized I couldn't make it back to my destination. And then other things that I talk about later on are things that you can do in all kinds of situations and do before you leave to prep, and basically every possible thing you can do to save energy. I found 30 things from my own experience having this car the last year and a half that can help you conserve energy. Number one, every single winter when it starts getting cold out, like below 50 degrees, I go ahead and throw my Aerodynamic Hubcaps back on. They do give you a boost in range because it makes the car more aerodynamic. Number two, put your car in chill mode. Accelerating really sucks the energy out of your car. Number three, make sure you have your regenerative braking set to standard. That is the highest amount of energy that you can get back. It does slow the car down faster when you let off the accelerator. Make sure that you're not using the brake. Get used to your regen braking and try to just not use the brake pedal at all. And also have your car in hold. Number four, if you can, turn your climate completely off. However, in the wintertime, our windows get fogged up, and in the summertime, our windows can get fogged up if you don't have some kind of airflow in the car that is getting rid of the humidity in there. You want to put your fan on 1, and you want to turn the AC off, turn the heater off, and you want to have it on windshield, and also turn recirculating air off. So you're matching the temperature of the outside air with the temperature of the air that you're blowing on the inside of the front windshield. That will keep your windows from fogging up. That really saved me. Before I did that, my windows were completely fogged up when I had the climate turned off in cold temperatures with 4 people in the car. We're all mouth breathers. Not that that matters. No matter how you breathe, it's going to fog up in here, and with all the body heat and everything. But as soon as I just pulled in that fresh air and blew it on the windshield, I had no problems with the windows fogging up. I also did that in summer as well. Same thing. And also make sure that you are not turning on the defogger or the defroster for the front or back windshield. For the back window, it turns on those heating coils that are in the glass. When you turn on the defogger or defroster for the front windshield, it puts the fan on high, and it puts the temperature on either super low, super cold, or it puts the temperature on super high, super hot. And either way, you're losing a lot of energy very quickly from doing that. So do not use the defogger or defroster. Number 5, do not turn the seat warmers on. It is more energy efficient to have the seat warmers on than to have the climate heater on. But if you are really in a pinch for energy like I was, don't have the climate on and don't have the seat warmers on. Turn them off. Number 6 is Autopilot. Use Autopilot. Use Autosteer. The reason is because it is definitely more efficient than you are. When we are not paying attention, we will accelerate when other traffic is accelerating. We will slow down when other traffic is slowing down and use the brake pedal sometimes. Number 7, drive as slow as humanly possible. Yes, this is going to piss off other drivers around you, and it's probably going to piss you off too and your passengers, but that is just too freaking bad. If you are not going to have enough energy to get to your destination, slow the heck down. Number 8, this is pretty crazy. I believe that NASCAR came up with this theory of using aerodynamics to maximize efficiency. This is insane. I don't know if you've seen Talladega Nights. I freaking love that movie. They had something called shake and bake. Shake and bake! That is not exactly what we're going to do here because, we're not trying to race on the freeway or anything. But what I'm talking about is something called drafting or slipstream. And basically what this means is you want to get behind a huge vehicle, preferably a big 18-wheeler with a box trailer on the back of it. And so what happens is that truck, let me just draw you a picture. Okay. Okay, there's some coffee spots on my pad here, but that's okay. Don't judge me too hard. So we'll just say that this is an 18-wheeler, okay? Now, the 18-wheeler is doing 65 miles per hour on the freeway, and they are hitting all this wind. The wind is hitting them. They're driving into the wind. That is causing a lot of high pressure air right here in the front of the truck. And they are pushing all that air out of the way. So this is a lot of condensed high pressure air that they're hitting at a high speed. And that air has to go around the truck because they're braking the air and they're going through it. So what happens is this air, it gets broken up back here. And this creates a low pressure area behind the 18-wheeler. High pressure, lots of air pressure, kind of like when you open your parachute when you're skydiving. And then this is low pressure back here. Now, let's say you're in your Tesla back here, right? If you get between 1 to 3 car lengths behind this 18-wheeler, your car is not having to break that air for itself. The 18-wheeler already broke the air apart. So this is a low air pressure right here. This means it's not providing a lot of air resistance on your car. So your car can go the same amount of speed at 65 miles per hour, but use less energy because it's not having to use that energy to break this high pressure air. It's not hitting the air itself. It's just staying right behind the truck and letting the truck do all the work for it. The closer, the better. So I set my car to 1 car length behind them on my steering wheel, but your car will not really stay 1 car length behind the truck. And it also depends on this truck, how fast they're going, if they slow down, if they speed up, what kind of traffic you're dealing with. But for me, I was lucky and I was able to find a truck that was going 65 miles per hour, and which is exactly the speed limit. And they stayed at a constant 65 the whole time. So I just stayed 65 miles per hour behind them for about 35 minutes. So that's what you want to do. You want to get behind a truck, a big truck, preferably a box one, and take advantage of that low pressure air behind them. If you go around that truck and you're braking the air for yourself, you're going to use more battery trying to break that air apart, doing the same amount of speed, 65 miles per hour. So that is crazy cool. Number 8, if it's possible and you have, let's say you're traveling south, right? And you have an option for 2 different superchargers. And one of them you're driving into the wind and one of them you have the wind behind you. Pick the supercharger that you're going to be driving there with the wind behind you, pushing the car and helping you. That will make you a lot more energy efficient using the wind to blow your car in the right direction rather than driving into the wind and causing an even higher pressure against the front of your car. It will really, really help. I did have this option when my trip happened. Number 10, this may not help very much at all. Maybe not any, I'm not sure, but turn your radio off. If you can do it, do it. Number 11, this is a super important thing. Keep your windows rolled up. And, I hate to say that, but, if I was able to have the windows down, then yeah, my windows wouldn't have gotten foggy, even if I had the climate completely off in hot weather or cold weather. But the problem is at 65 miles per hour, if I have all the windows down, that is going to create a ton of wind resistance and drag on my car. It will not be aerodynamic at all. All that air is going to get trapped in the cabin and it's going to be slowing the car down, and the car is going to have to work against that and use more energy to go the same speed. So keep your windows up completely. You don't want to break that aerodynamic smoothness that this car has. You want to take full advantage of that. So it's more efficient, in my opinion, to have the fan on level 1 and have everything else in the climate turned off and just have it blowing on the front windshield rather than having all the windows down and driving on the freeway. If you need to roll them down for a second to get some fresh air in here, then go for it. But then roll them back up as quick as possible. And those 11 things are the things that I was able to immediately do and decisions that I made very quickly when I realized that I might not make it to the supercharger to get home. It told me I was going to arrive with 2%. And I arrived with 8% battery by doing all these things and doing them very quickly and thinking fast. So number 12, if you're going to be going on a trip and you know that you're going to be cutting it close, go ahead and charge to 100%. I have charged to 100% several times within the last 2 months because it's been very cold here. But the rest of the year, I don't use superchargers and I don't charge to 100%. I charge to 90. Okay, efficiency of the climate, whether it's summertime or wintertime. Basically, you want to match the inside climate temperature as much to the outside temperature as you can so that your climate is not working so hard. So like in the wintertime, instead of setting your climate temperature to high, like 82 degrees, just go ahead and keep it at a comfortable 72 degrees or 74 degrees instead. You know, don't turn that heater on full blast and don't turn the fan on full blast. Turn off the back fan if there's nobody in the back. Don't split the climate. Just let it blow full blast on you. That way you can have the fan at a lower speed and get the same amount blowing in your face than, you know, having to turn the fan to a higher speed because you have part of the air blowing in the back seat. In the summertime, instead of putting it on completely low temperature or 62 degrees, go ahead and again set it to like 72 degrees or 70 degrees or something like that. Number 14, schedule departure. This is super, super important. That means that your car knows that by say 7 o'clock in the morning, you want it to be whatever temperature in the car, 78 degrees or whatever. And it will also precondition the battery and it will charge at the same time. And you'll still leave with the amount battery that you wanted to, like say 90% battery. Number 15, unplug everything in the car. My kids like to leave the house with dead phones, dead tablets, dead earbuds, dead headphones. And then they're plugging all this stuff into my center console and charging everything. Unplug their crap. This may not save that much battery, but again, you know, every little thing adds up. Number 16, if at all possible, you know, you're going south, right? And you have 2 different road options and you know one is super rough and it's a really screwed up road, lots of potholes, things like that. And then the other route that you can take is a brand new freeway that is super, super smooth. You need to take the smoother road. This is just like when you're riding a bicycle. If you're riding on a gravel road, it's a lot harder to pedal than riding on, you know, perfectly smooth pavement. Number 17, keep your software up to date. I know a lot of people are throwing a big fit about the V11 software update and they're trying to avoid updating their car. I'm going to try to say this very nicely. You need to update your car. And I believe that eventually your car will just update itself. You cannot hide from it forever. Sometimes those software updates have things in there that will make the car more energy efficient and give you more range. So you need to be able to take advantage of that. If there's some update that it could have made your car go a few more miles and you ran out of battery and you had to get towed to a supercharger, whose fault is that? Just freaking update your car regularly. Number 18, don't preheat the cabin if you're not plugged in. Yes, I know this doesn't precondition the battery, but you know, you may lose regenerative braking for a little bit while it warms up the battery or something like that. But don't do it just for your own personal comfort and waste, you know, a few % battery because you're trying to get the car hot before you get in. Only do that if you really have battery to spare. Number 19, do not attach anything to the outside of the car that doesn't need to be there. If you have luggage racks or bike racks or anything like that, if you're not using them, take them off the car. Because what happens is when you're driving on the freeway, especially at high speeds, you're going to have a lot of wind resistance. Again, it makes the car not aerodynamic and you will use more energy out of the battery to go the same amount of speed. Number 20, this is very important as well. Keep your tire pressure as high as possible within normal range. So if your tire pressure says that a normal range for it is between 40 psi to 45 psi, go for 45 psi. I know that some people like to put a little bit less air in their tires and keep it down to say 40 psi because it makes the drive a little bit smoother, maybe a little bit quieter. But if you fill it up to the highest normal tire pressure, then that makes it easier for the car and you'll use less energy. If you're pedaling a bicycle with low or flat tires, it's a lot harder to pedal than it is to pedal a bicycle that has really full tires. When you drive on the road, your tires get warmer because of friction on the road and warm air expands. So in the wintertime, you're going to need to put more air in the tire, and in the summertime, you're going to need to let a little bit of air out. That way you always have them at the maximum normal tire pressure. Number 21, park inside or in the shade as much as possible, because in the wintertime, this will keep the car from getting as cold, so it doesn't have to heat the cabin up as much for you, and it doesn't have to heat the battery up as much for the car. And in the summertime, you want to park in the shade or inside so the car doesn't get as hot. And that way it doesn't have to cool the cabin off, especially if you have cabin overheat protection on, and it doesn't have to cool the battery off as much. So it will save energy either way to park out of the elements when you're in extreme weather. Which brings me to number 22. Turn off cabin overheat protection in the summertime if you really need to maximize your range. If the car gets too hot in the cabin, it will turn on the AC, and that will drain your battery a little bit. Get your windows tinted or put sunshades up everywhere. Number 23, in your Tesla app, especially when you're running out of range, you're going to want to check your car a lot. Like, oh God, my car is parked. Like, how much battery have I lost? Every time you do that, it uses just a little bit more energy to wake the car up. So try not to check the app much. Try not to even check it at all, and that will conserve just a little bit more energy. Number 24, lighten your load. Kick your passengers out, kick your kids out, drive by yourself. I'm kidding. Seriously though, try to keep the cargo weight in your car as low as possible at all times. Don't let crap just pile up in your car. Number 25, if you have the option of a straight shot on a freeway, doing just the speed limit, or taking a route where it's stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go constantly, take the constant speed rather than the stop and go. I know that you're going to be, getting regenerative braking from the stop and go traffic, but you're not going to be getting back as much as you're losing from accelerating over and over and over again constantly. Number 26, avoid bad weather if at all possible. Avoid heavy rain, avoid snow, avoid crosswinds and any kind of crazy storms coming or cold fronts or anything like that are causing really strong winds, especially winds that are blowing anywhere but behind you. And obviously driving in snow is going to cause resistance on the road and make you lose more energy. Number 27, if you have the option between say 2 different superchargers or 2 different routes to get to the same place, and one is uphill and one is downhill, obviously pick the downhill route or route, tomato, whatever. Let gravity work for you. Driving uphill is going to use way more energy than driving downhill. Plus, downhill, you can take advantage of regenerative braking the whole freaking time and be charging your battery driving downhill. Number 28, your battery symbol on your screen. Always keep it in percent. I know it's hard when you first switch over to EV to look at percentage and get your mind to calculate what the heck that means and how far you can go. It's a lot easier to look at the miles, but those miles are not really accurate. I have found that when you have it in miles, it can be off up to 10 miles, which can really put you short of a supercharger. Put it on percent because that uses an algorithm that tells the car, I think this is how much percent you really have left, and plug in your destination and look at what percent it says you're going to arrive with. I have found that percentage is accurate up to 2%, maybe even 4% at the most. But you could arrive with 4% less or 4% more, typically more. And I know that doesn't actually save you any energy, but it gives you a better idea of how much you're really going to arrive with. Number 29, again, probably does not help very much at all, but when you add up little things, they can make a difference. Dim your screen as much as possible. That uses a little bit less energy. Turn off your steering wheel lights. I always keep them off. You don't need them. We can feel these huge knobs on the steering wheel in the dark. You don't need the steering wheel lights on. Don't have the cabin lights on and don't have them come on automatically. Turn those off and keep them off. Keep your headlights on regular brightness. Don't turn them on brights. If you have really cool LED lights for your car, turn them off. They're sucking battery too. And also take your mirrors off of auto fold. That uses just a little teeny weeny little bit of energy. So turn that off as well. Again, this may not make that much of a difference, but when you add a lot of little things up, it can. It's like yelling at your kids to turn off the lights in the other room. Is leaving one light bulb on going to make a big difference? No. But if they leave all the freaking lights on in the house all day, every day, the entire freaking month, yes, it's going to make a difference. Number 30. Again, this doesn't actually save energy, but it lets you get a better idea of what amount of battery you're going to arrive with. You need to look at your energy graph and you need to learn how to use it. Let's say I'm driving in the city and then I get on the freeway and the rest of my drive is all going to be on the freeway and I want to see how much I'm going to arrive at my destination with. If I've been driving in the city and the highway, but the rest of my drive is on the highway, I'm going to go ahead and put that graph to 5 miles once I've been on the freeway for 5 miles, because I don't want it to take into account how I was driving in the city in the last 30 miles, because that's not how the rest of my drive is going to be. So I don't want it to use those variables in the algorithm for it calculating you know, how much energy I'm going to have for the rest of the trip, because that's not how I'm going to be driving. You know, I might be driving 5, 10, 20 miles an hour in the city, maybe up to 40. And then on the freeway, I'm driving 75 miles per hour. That's totally, totally different. And make sure you plug in your trip as well and let that start going before you look at your energy graph. And that way you can look at the trip and you can look at your graph and you can kind of compare and see how much battery you're really going to end up with. That is all I have for you. That is 30 things, okay, that you can do to save battery. The first 11 I did immediately. It saved me 6% battery, which is really what I needed to make it to my destination and not call a freaking tow truck. It can really, really add up. And also, if you do these things, you know, for a whole year or 5 years, that also adds up to kilowatt hours. It's going to be cheaper for you in the long run. I hope this video was super helpful to you. Please let me know what you think about it. The next video will be me actually on that trip, and I'll show you what I did and, you know, all the variables that were factors in my equation for, you know, how much range I was supposed to have and how much I actually ended up with. It's definitely, you know, not accurate to say, okay, I bought this car and it has 240 miles of estimated range, you know, as rated by Tesla. That is not accurate. There's so many variables, I can't even name all of them. There is a whole lot, but don't let it intimidate you either. Just look at this list. It's pretty much all inclusive, and let me know if this helps you in any way. And I'm going to take my husband to the airport, and I'll see you all next time.